NBA Finals, let me just get your thoughts. I mean, did the 20-plus turnovers. Now, look, Oklahoma City, in their 21 playoff games, have forced 20 or more turnovers in 8 of those 21 games. And these are against the best teams, and this is the playoffs, right? These are the best teams you're going to play, whether it's the finals, the Western Finals, you're playing really good teams. So this tells you just how good their defense is, how opportunistic they are, how they jump the ball. But, if you're Indiana and you're Rick Carlisle into game 5 now, you can't commit 22, 23 turnovers have all those block shots that lead to runouts and expect to win a basketball game. You got to give Oklahoma City and their defense credit. We knew coming in they were the best defensive team, but they're not taking care of the basketball. Siakam and Halliburton, especially early, too many times giving up the basketball. 22, 23 turnovers at the end of the day. Way too many.
Yeah, and a lot of that's OKC's defense, but it was a weirdly careless Game 5 for the top guys for Indiana. Obviously Tyrese Halliburton. You wonder what's going on there. Just a kind of a bizarre bad game for him. He was moving the ball around, but just really
not aggressive enough.
Yeah, just kind of pass. And some of that is the way he plays. I think with his heroics in this postseason, we are kind of miscasting him as a go get us 23 kind of a guy. That's there's going to be nights when he has 12.
He's maybe the best clutch shooter and a big shot shooter in the NBA right now, but you got to get him there.
Yeah, but he's more of a Steve Nash than a.
That's a good comparison.
Where and of course the play style, the 7 seconds or less. The Pacers feels like it's about 4 seconds or less.
They like to push the pace, the Pacers, but they just came in. You can't. The turnovers are just that. And again, that's the best defensive team at forcing turnovers in the
long.
NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Their long arms, their athleticism, their youth. They never run out of gas to play that pressure defense without a doubt. But man, total numbers: 22 turnovers. They. What was it? How many? I think 7 different Thunder players had blocked shots in the game. So their defense is something else, and it leads to their offense. Pretty darn impressive. In the games where the Pacers have taken care of the basketball, they've actually won the games or had a chance to win the games. The games where they've coughed it up too much. Rick Carlisle has a pretty easy message for Thursday night. If we can take care of the ball, I know we want to press it and we want to push it with our offense and not let them set their defense. Same time, you can't be that careless. And you got Tyrese Halliburton last night, their best player, had just 4 points. Yeah. 4 points on 0 for 6 from field goals, 0 for 3, 0 for 4 from 3. That is a no-show game with a -20 and the plus-minus from your quote-unquote best player. Pascal Siakam had 28. He's been their best player actually in this tournament, or in this series. But they need more from him. Obviously, 4 points ain't going to get it done.
Yeah, Jalen Williams, throughout those playoffs at times, has not been able to quiet these runs, and it felt like anytime Indiana made a push, right there at the end of the quarter. They got it to 2
in the fourth.
Yeah, and right there at the third quarter really stuck out to me. They kind of made their run there, made it a real game. T.J. McConnell had that little, 7-point spurt or so, and then right there at the end of the quarter, Jalen Williams hit a big shot to push it to 8. 6 felt like a lot more manageable than 8 in a game like that. And then crawling back in the fourth quarter, Shea and Jalen Williams were the ones to really put it out of reach, and it's a star maker. You know what I mean? Yeah,
well, 40 on a Game 5. We know how important those are. Go back to the history of whether it's Major League Baseball in a 7-game series or basketball, those Game 5 heroes become stars. That's just, and for Jalen Williams to put 40 points on the board next to SGA, and as you said, at least put some question into the conversation about who will be the Finals MVP when and if they close it out with one more victory. Don't give up on the Pacers. They're one of those teams that never give in, never say die. They will get a home game on Thursday night. We get a couple nights off from the NBA. NBA draft is a week from tomorrow night. We'll preview that, including some reports now about Kevin Durant. Is he coming back to Texas? We'll get details there. Also, where Trey Johnson, the lifetime Longhorn, could land come next Wednesday night, 8 days from tonight. The NBA draft will happen. We know Cooper Flagg is on the clock with the Dallas Mavericks at number 1. Jack, let's dive into the opening tip, though. A little college baseball, college basketball, college sports. We got news from San Marcos we got to get to as well.
It's the opening tip.
Opening tip on a Tuesday here on Game Time. We will get to the Longhorns at the bottom of the hour. Another edition through the transfer portal for Jim Schlossnagle and Texas baseball. This time it's for the Arm Farm. They've had 3 position players through the portal, and now they had a left-hander. We'll get you details at the bottom of the hour. Also, the overview of the athletic department success for Texas. We'll get to the Astros and all their injuries, and Jack Farrell will get you some in other news before the end of this hour. But, man, how about this game yesterday, Jack? So I get home from the day, right, and I lay down. I'm watching the beginning of the Arkansas game with Murray State. It's an elimination game. Arkansas lost Saturday night to LSU to fall into the losers bracket. And so it starts just after 1 o'clock. So I'm watching this. 3 innings in, it's like this dude, Gage Wood, is just unbelievable. I mean, he's 9 up, 9 down, and he's just mowing through people. You can kind of tell there's something in Murray State's a 4 seed. This isn't the most potent lineup in college baseball, but he is making them look like the junior varsity. So I'm like, man, this is pretty special. Well, then, of course, I doze off because I've been up since 3:30 in the morning. So I doze off. TV's still on, and wake up, and we're in the 7th inning, Jack, and he's punching out another one, and he's up to like 15 strikeouts, and he's 21 up, 21 down. 21 up, 21 down. I'm like, oh, man, I am in on this. This is pretty damn good. This is like Omaha history. They come back to the 8th inning. It's 3-0. Arkansas has carved out 3 runs, so they got a little cushion for them, but it's not like it's 9-0. This game's, a couple knocks and a hit, and all of a sudden it's back in doubt. But my man Gage Wood is in complete control at the College World Series. But first batter of the 8th inning, he throws this little wipeout curveball he's been throwing the whole game, and it breaks down and hits the guy on the toe. I mean, it couldn't have hit him by, a fraction. Hits him on the toe in the back of the dirt there. Base runner, first one. It's 21 up, 21 down. Then the pinky toe gets swiped a little bit. Didn't even hurt, for crying out loud. He's on first base. Think, okay, is that going to sometimes approaching 100 pitches? Is that going to throw him off? The first time he goes into the stretch, the entire game is in the 8th inning. So now he's pitching from the stretch. And he said, by the way, after the game, Jack, that this is when he kind of realized, wait a second, this is the first time I've turned into the stretch here. Something's up here. So he kind of locked back in, and I think he struck out the side in the 8th, mowed through those dudes, and then he ran off the mound. And then there was a moment there in the 8th inning with the runner on base, the first of the whole game, where after he hit the guy, they got to 2 outs, and with 2 strikes, after he had thrown like 2 96-mile-an-hour, 97-mile-an-hour heaters, the catcher kind of stepped out of the box, called a timeout. And, pitchers hate that. Like when they're in a groove and they're in a rocking chair, don't be calling timeout. Let's go, man. And you could tell it fired him up, and Gage Wood stood there, spit a couple of times, and climbed back on the hill and blew one by him and struck out to get out of the 8th inning. So now it's, 24 up, 23, or 25 up, 21 down, 24 down. He's going to the 9th inning. Almost like Arkansas raced through their offensive side to get him back out there. Don't let him get cooled off. They didn't even get very feeble at bats. Almost like get Gage Wood back out there, and he goes back out in the 9th and just mows him down. It was incredible. This guy was stronger at the end than he was at the beginning, and this is what sports is all about. When you got a guy doing that and finishing a ball game, as Gage Wood did with the strikeouts, 19 strikeouts,
19 Ks,
and it's a day game. And I think, look, I'm 52 years old now. I still will always say the most dominant pitching performance I've ever seen or witnessed was Kerry Wood against the Astros back in the 90s.
Yeah,
and I was watching that game at Wrigley Field. It was a day game at Wrigley, and I'm an Astros fan, and it's Bagwell and those guys. I mean, it's just. He is cutting through these guys. Just 20 strikeouts, same kind of thing. And the only hit the Astros had in that game was a little dribbler. I think it was their shortstop. I can't even remember his name. He had a little like a swinging bunt that went down the third base line to put a runner on base. It would have been a complete game no-hitter with 20 strikeouts. It was the most dominant thing I've ever seen. And Gage Wood was pretty close to that yesterday against Murray State. And here's the final out. Oh, man, only the third no-hitter in College World Series history and the first since 1960. You should know, Longhorn fans and Jack, that the first pitcher ever to throw a no-hitter at the College World Series, Jim Erler of the University of Texas in 1950 against Tufts College, against Tufts in 1950. That was the first one. Then Oklahoma State's right-handed pitcher Jim Wixon did it against North Carolina in 1960. And now Arkansas's right-hander Gage Wood against Murray State in 2025. That was something else. And I so impressed with the guy because you see his parents. They always do the parent shots. But listen to this guy. The guy he struck out there at the end, this guy's from Batesville, Arkansas, which is a town of about 10,000 people. Not much to do. But the guy that he struck out to finish the complete game and the no-hitter was a buddy of his who he works out with, who went to his high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so listen to him. Here he is. He just had the game of his life in the elimination game at the College World Series, and all he wants to do is prop up the guy that just struck out.
You just came over here and gave a hug to Connor Cunningham. Why?
Because, I work out with that guy in the off season, and, I mean, I didn't expect to see him here. I mean, and like I got to play against him. You know, he got there a year late than from when I graduated. But I mean, I work out with that guy in the off season. You know, he's a grinder. He works his tail off every day, and he's my scramble buddy too. And I mean, I'm looking forward to working with him every off season going forward. You know, he's gonna be he's gonna get drafted one day. You know, he's a solid shortstop. I think he was freshman of the year for them. So of course I'm gonna go over there and talk to my guy. Like, I mean, I'm on cloud 9 and their season ended, but you know, I mean, I'm gonna go tell him I love him, great job, and keep working.
You just threw the third no-hitter in the history of this event. How do you describe your emotions? You just
that cut off from SportsCenter, he said, I shouldn't have hit that guy.
Shouldn't have hit that guy.
I love this guy, Gage Wood, man. I'm not an Arkansas fan, but this guy, all he wants to do is talk about his buddy and how good of a player he is, and then I shouldn't have hit the guy. That was awesome. That guy, and I'm glad I got to see it yesterday. I dozed off for a couple innings, but I didn't miss a lot.
Yeah. And
just about 10 more strikeouts.
For much of that game, they needed every bit of it.
Oh, yeah.
The starter for Murray State,
he gets underappreciated. You know, that was a big start. Well, look, before we get the latest on this Texas State move to the Pac-12, and I want to get y'all caught up on that here on the opening tip of our Tuesday morning. But let me just tell you, we talk about staying in the winners bracket at Omaha. Texas, you've been there. Remember when Texas ran into the kid Bednar with Mississippi State in 2021? Had all the strikeouts with the shadow issue, and they fell into the losers bracket, and they almost got all the way back. But here's what Arkansas now has to do. And this is why LSU winning that, Coastal Carolina, you know, getting themselves into the winners bracket. If you fall into the losers bracket there, to win a national championship, which is Arkansas's stated goal with the roster they probably have the best overall team as far as player by player in college baseball. They had to beat Murray State yesterday, which they did. They'll have to beat the LSU-UCLA loser today. Now, that game was suspended last night in the fourth inning. 5-3 LSU leads it. They're going to pick it up at 10 o'clock this morning, okay? So whoever loses that game, Arkansas will have to beat them tonight, right? In between those two, finish one game, and Oregon will play Louisville in an elimination game in between those two, but Arkansas will have to beat whoever loses tonight. Then Arkansas will have to come back and beat the winner of today's game, and then beat them again on Thursday. Yeah. And then get a day off on Friday, and then to win the national championship, they'll have to beat Coastal Carolina, whoever comes out of the other side, in 2 out of 3.
Correct, yeah.
Which is 7 games in 8 days. Which, again, I don't know anybody in college baseball that has a pitching staff that can do that. Maybe it's Arkansas. Maybe the rainout of last night helps them. But that's why what Coastal Carolina did and what LSU is trying to do to stay 2-0.
So important.
Oh, it is. And it puts you at such an advantage with your pitching, and to win. If the goal is to win a national title, not just make a run like Texas did in 2021, you want to win it. You got to win that second game, and that's why what Kate Anderson did for LSU on Saturday night to shut down that Arkansas team and give him, because Gage Wood and Kate Anderson are both going to be first-round draft picks in the amateur draft in baseball in July. Those guys have big league stuff, big league arms, and that's just how important that game was. And that's why if you're an Arkansas fan, you're like, yeah, why would we have to see LSU when we got there? I mean, come on. We change this bracket up. We got to see LSU, maybe the second best team in the country, when are in our first game to drop us into the losers bracket. But that is the challenge it creates. All right, real quick, Jack and folks, listen, this whole Texas State story is gaining momentum. We're going to talk to Mike Craven from Dave Campbell's Texas Football coming up. He's got his finger on the pulse of this coming up in our 9 o'clock hour this morning. But, figure this, Zach. Barely 15 years ago, Texas State was playing football in the Southland Conference. The Southland Conference. We talk about football growth in Texas and just overall population growth in Texas. Barely 15 years ago, Texas State was playing in the Southland Conference. Before that, they were playing
20
in
years
FCS.
ago, FCS.
Yeah, I mean, I covered teams for Jim Wacker. Claude Mathis, my guy Claude Mathis, playing running back for them. Well, Texas State has now emerged as a heavy favorite to be given a formal invitation to the Pac-12, the newly recobbled back-together Big Pac-12, and that according to Pete Thamel over the weekend. Texas State is facing a July 1 deadline to notify the Sun Belt if it wishes to leave for the 2026 season, so its buyout is $5 million, not $10 million. That's really the deadline. So they've got about 2 weeks here, 2 weeks from today. And the Pac-12 is expected, according to Pete Thamel, to issue the invite. And at that point, Don Coryell, the president, Don Coryell is the AD, the president at Texas State are expected to accept that almost immediately upon the push. And as we told you yesterday, Texas State, within their Sun Belt Conference, they make about $2 million a year annually on their media rights. In a new formed Pac-12, that number could balloon to between $7 and $10 million, which is obviously quadruple the money revenue on your media rights deal average, every year, you're going to do that. And also the exposure it would bring for the program to be together. It's essentially a bunch of states, Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, San Diego State, Utah State, set to join Oregon State, Washington State, and Texas State as full members. And Gonzaga is a part of this conference. The Gonzaga Bulldogs, one of the best college basketball programs. They're in as a basketball member, not football. So Texas State would complete the full sports group to have 8. You need 8 for round numbers and scheduling and all that. Texas State would get the invite. But to be playing basketball games against Gonzaga and San Diego State, who was in the championship game on the men's side a year ago or two, to be playing against Boise State in football potentially. Fresno State has been a good football program. Colorado State, Oregon State and Washington State, good stuff there. So that would be huge. But consider this. Why is Texas State such a hot commodity in the realignment world? If they make this move, they'll be able to join as an all-sports member for the 26-27 school year. So next year, they'll be joining the Pac-12. But think about how the college football landscape has shifted and how dramatically it has in the last 5 years. No state has felt more change than Texas. We understand it's a big state with a lot of people, but the Longhorns and their departure from the SEC shook the Lone Star State, no doubt. But if Texas State ultimately leaves the Sun Belt for the Pac-12, it will be the 9th out of 13 teams in the FBS in Texas to change affiliations within their conference in the last 5 years. 9th in the last 5 years. The lower levels have been even more impacted. Sam Houston State, of course, they ascended from the FCS to the FBS level. And at this point, 7 of the 9 FBS conferences feature at least one team in the state of Texas now, if this happens, when this happens. 7 of the 9 FBS conferences have at least one team in the state of Texas. 3 of the Power 4 would boast a representative after the ACC added SMU last season. The only exceptions, of course, would be the Midwest-based Big Ten and MAC. The state of Texas would not have a Big Ten team or a MAC team, but they would have all of the others covered. And obviously, why are they attracted? A population of 30 million people, rich in football talent, rich in basketball, rich in every sports talent, and more coming. And look, President Kelly Dampus and Athletic Director Don Coryell have been such a shot in the arm for that Texas State Athletic Department. G.J. Kinney has become the face of the football program. But they need to continue to upgrade their resources. So you're going to say, well, why are they moving up to play a Boise State? This could be a step backwards. But they're seeing it. We're going to be quadrupling our income.
Exactly.
That we can then invest in coaches and invest in facilities and invest in things. And can't tell you enough how important. We're going to try to get Don Coryell on the show, the AD, and Kelly Dampus, the president. It has been such a shot in the arm when he got there. He is an athletic, a sports vision president, much like Jay Hartzell was for Texas. And has really put this on a course for them to make football and sports a priority. Because as DeLoss Dodds taught us a long time ago, your football program is the front porch of your university. It's how people who don't know your university very well get to know your university. It's where you meet your neighbors, right? You come onto their front porch and you chat with them. That's what your football program is. So if you can lead with a quality football program, why does anybody know the name Boise State? Football. Right? It's the front porch of Boise State. It's like, okay, I know Boise State. They play pretty good football. That's what Texas State is trying to get to. And, they'll probably be quicker getting there in baseball where, Coastal Carolina might win a national title. That's the Sun Belt. College basketball, a couple of players here and there like San Diego State, like Gonzaga, and get the right coach in place, you can make runs. But football is really the key, and that's what the driving force of this is. And it's why, Washington State and Oregon State and, Boise State are scrambling to keep this Pac-12 together, keep this affiliation, and then make it as strong as they possibly can. Because with the demise of the Pac-12, the Mountain West is out there, but you have a chance to, have some great TV eyeballs on a Saturday evening, right? Saturday night. Those late games become Texas State playing Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State. Those can be good football games, and that will up the exposure of Texas State. And if you remember, not long ago, when we say 15 years ago they were playing in the Southland Conference, 20 years ago they were FCS. Right before G.J. Kinney was hired, a good friend of mine, Jake Spavital, their former coach, who is now the offensive coordinator at Baylor, he famously had to take his players over to San Marcos High School to go to the weight room because their weightlifting facilities were better at the high school than they were at Texas State. That was before the new president came in. They've made adjustments to that. They've fixed it, I believe. But I remember Jake telling me, man, I got to take my guys over to get a good workout in. We got to go over to the and not be too crowded with the other sports. We got to go over to San Marcos High School. They got a practice field, too, that we use. It's pretty cool. It's 10 miles or 8 miles away, but we go over there. But they've come a long way pretty quickly. And I just think if this comes down, we're going to talk to Mike Craven about it. If you're a Bobcat fan, 40,000 students, kind of a sleeping giant in this massive population boom of I-35. What was it when we were down at the Final Four this past March, Jack, or April? The mayor of San Antonio, the outgoing mayor, called it the megalopolis. Mm-hmm. The megalopolis of Austin and San Antonio in Central Texas and the I-35 corridor, megalopolis. Well, that's where Texas State sits. So if you're why are we talking about Texas State? What can that be 10 years from now? I don't know. Who would have guessed 10 years ago that we'd be here and they're joining the Pac-12? And that SMU's in the ACC. I mean, this is the power of Texas right now, the power of the Lone Star State, its population, its revenue, its opportunity for TV eyeballs. And, for the Pac-12, it's a no-brainer to add the megalopolis and to be able to play football games in Texas and recruit in the state of Texas. Huge for those other 7 schools.
Yeah, and you look at some of the team names on there. There's not a lot preventing Texas State from being one of the major players in that conference right away. I mean, and I know that, Ashton Genty isn't going to be coming back to Boise State, anytime soon, but
he's
Boise
a Texas
State's
kid. What if he goes to Texas State?
No, but
it doesn't go all the way to Boise. No, I'm just saying. Take Ashton Genty from the Metroplex, who doesn't go to Boise State. He says, you know what, I'm going to go play at Texas State.
Yeah, absolutely.
For G.J. Kinney and playing their high-tempo offense and play. And look, this has to fire up the fan base there. They've got to get invested behind the football program, sell out that building, expand that building. There's a lot of work to do. But I will just tell you, having covered that and been good friends with Jake Spavital, Ty Harrington, of course, who helped build the baseball program for 20 years and fought an uphill battle for the first 10 at least. It is light years from where it was not long ago. And so the question becomes, where can it be 10 years from now as they ascend into a what could be a fringe Power 5 conference in a new built Pac-12?
Yeah, where I was going with that was the next time Boise State does find that diamond in the rough and everybody has their eyes on the blue field at Boise State, then you have Texas State coming to town.
That's right.
Or you're playing in the Pac-12 championship against Boise State, and there's a lot of TV eyeballs there. So I think, Texas State, I've always kind of wondered that. I know they have not that premier basketball talent in Austin as well, but I've seen a lot of kids go out of state and go elsewhere and see them on the bench.
It just becomes a more appealing option to players in this area.
Keep them here, man.
San Antonio, where Jeff Traylor's doing a great job at UTSA with that program. I mean, you just see the power of it. And again, who knows where it goes? I will just say the hiring of Kelly Damphousse as the president was the key. He is tremendous, and that's why the accelerator has been pushed he has empowered Don Coryell to do the things they're doing, which could land them into the Pac-12 within the next 2 weeks, which is pretty darn cool.